opening up, and I mean, it's remarkable at the rate that new stores are being built. I mean, it's a good sign because it's like the economy is growing, but at the same time, where's the money coming from? I can't help but to ask myself that question.
So it was really interesting, the trend that we've been seeing. In 2018, actually, we had fewer store closures than in 2017, but 2019 is starting out to be another year for major retail store closures. So year to date, we have at least 5,163 store closures that have been announced. Compare that to just over 5,500, but in all of 2018. But to be fair, when you net out the closings with announced new store openings, you get a net 3,577 store closures that have been announced so far this year, compared to 3,075 in all of 2018. Now, some of the closures are from bankruptcies or liquidations. Others, though, are just closing underperforming stores in a more typical pruning that does often happen after the holiday season. So Payless is closing all 2,100 of its stores left over. Gymboree, all 749. Charlotte Russe closing 512 stores. All of those three are because they're being liquidated after failed bankruptcy reorganizations. Ascena Retail, remember, that's the company that owns Ann Taylor, Loft, Dress Barn, Lane Bryant, Justice, Maurice's, and Catherine's. They're going to close 400 locations collectively. And then today, as you mentioned, Dollar Tree said it's closing 390 Family Dollar stores. Last week, Gap Inc. said it's going to close 230 Gap brand stores over 2 years. Destination Maternity is shuttering 117 doors. There's a lot more, but those are just some.
What's this going to do to all that real estate? How's it going to get reused? And what's the knock-on onto the real estate companies and the REITs that own these?
So again, it depends, because not all of these are necessarily mall-based. Some are going to be in strip centers. So if you've got freestanding or strip centers, sometimes, you can put in a dental office, you can put in a Planet Fitness, you can put in something else a little different. Now, that is starting to happen in the malls as well. It's a little easier in the strip centers because of the way that the co-tenant agreements are written about what is allowed and not allowed to be sort of around those stores. But it's interesting, as we've been following the mall occupancy rates, and they haven't dropped that much. But the mall itself is starting to look different. You've got more food places, more services. Less actually, apparel stores are far, far fewer than they used to be in the malls. So you have to really kind of dig in beyond the numbers, because the occupancy number doesn't really tell the whole story.
You see it in my town. I've lived in my town for now more than 30 years. And when I moved there were a lot of retail shops there. Now, practically everything is service. Mm-hmm. It's either a gym or a yoga place. I was going to say a massage parlor, but I don't want to say it's not that. It's yoga. No, there are spas, day spas and things.
I just passed by a TGIF Friday that I once took my daughter to for her 5th birthday, and they're closed down. Shockingly, that restaurant was there for years. I had my first date there with my now husband, and they're closed. I'm just noticing a lot of stores are closing, even though other stores are opening, and it just don't make sense to me.
Not on Amazon.
Not on Amazon, not yet. But it is changing drastically, and the stocks are higher because, we've got 390 stores that are pretty underperforming, and so if you're an investor, you don't want to keep stores that are open that aren't making any money.
You've made lots of bold predictions over the years. A lot of them have come true. Was 2018 a year where that was the outlier here, where store closings were lower than trend? 2017 was high. 18, there weren't so many. Now we're back.
I came on here in 2014 and told you this was going to happen, and we talked about it for quite a while. And what we're seeing is the straight trend. 2018 was the outlier. It was an outlier for a very simple reason. The consumer was about as healthy as they've been since '08, and they did fun things, so they bought things they wanted to buy as opposed to the regular things you buy every day online. And it looked like they were closing the gap between online buying a little bit and in-store buying. Now that we're back to normal, the tax thing has worked its way through the system. We're still going to have a good year, but it's not going to be as healthy as it was last year for the consumer, and we're going to see the trend run right back toward online. And we're going to see that from now to 2030, which was my prediction in 2014 when I came on here.
When you get a bump up like this, sometimes it can be explained by a particular store or chain like Payless or Sears cutting a lot of stores. But is this deeper than just the individual problems of those guys?
Yes, it is. This is just the general trend of moving away. Every retailer that you talk to now, even successful ones like Walmart, they'll say, if we had this to do over, we'd make these stores a little smaller. So the trend is there. And so anybody that's struggling, that's highly levered, or that's not making money, they're going to go first. But everybody's moving away from the store base. This is not a temporary thing.
You know, Lauren, Jan makes the case that a lot of malls are going to just go away. Already many of them have. You can drive out in the country and around the country and see lots of them that have shuttered. But lots of malls are trying to reinvent themselves by making them more experiential.
Exactly.
In other words, attractions. Is it working?
I think experiential doesn't solve the problem. And so to your earlier point, right, the majority of these store closings, if you look through the numbers, are the Paylesses, are the Gymborees. These are retailers that have already gone through bankruptcy once and went through it again. They're Chapter 22s. And these tend to be in the weaker malls. So you can have a couple Paylesses and a Gymboree, and you add in a trampoline park. That's not going to make you come to the mall if they aren't coming anyway. So yes, having experiential options are helpful, but you need the mall to be in a good geography. It needs to be in a probably higher income environment and more urban, because we're seeing more people move out of suburbia. So suburban destination isn't what it used to be.
And it's a lot. They're bringing in a lot. They're bringing in gyms. They're bringing in restaurants and things like that to make them a destination more than just a shopping location.
Which is great and fun and exciting, but it's not all going to work. So we'll see some work, some not.
Well, Dress Barn is closing all of its 650 stores nationwide, and that means a large number, nearly 7,000 workers, could soon be out of work. And analysts say that the women's clothing chain had lost customers after its parent company failed to invest in the brand. Dress Barn is the latest to join a wave of store closures happening in the U.S. USA Today reports that with the Dress Barn closures, there are more than 7,000 closings announced for 2019. That's already exceeded how many were announced in 2018. These closures mean thousands are losing their jobs despite low national unemployment rates in the country. Joining me now, Mark Muro. He's a senior fellow at the Brookings Institute Metropolitan Policy Program. So, Mark, we keep hearing about this retail apocalypse for some time now. You're seeing more and more stores closing, but can you explain what's really driving these closures? Are people